This is Creatures of the Night, and I'm Chris.
And I'm Wendy.
And Wendy, I have got to show you something amazing. My husband, who never goes down the wine aisle unless I'm with him, happened to peruse the goods today while I was not with him. He went into the store actually to pick up dog treats because, she's our pride and joy. So we have to make sure that she's taken care of. So he went down the wine aisle and look at this. Can you see this?
Yes. Oh, I've had that a couple of times.
This is the first time I saw it. He picked it up for me and I'm like, that is amazing. So I had to crack it open tonight and give it a shot. I actually downed most of my glass while I was panicking, wondering what happened to my best friend.
Well, first of all, before we get into that, what Krista showed me is that Snoop Dogg is working with 19 Crimes, the wine company now. And so they have a California Red, and they chose him to be their spokesperson on the bottle, I guess. And it's pretty fucking epic. And it's actually really good wine, too. I mean, 19 Crimes is just good, period.
Oh, yeah.
But my sister-in-law, she never listens to this podcast, so I can say this. She's a wine snob. She gets on to me about putting ice in my wine and everything, Yeah. She knows all the proper snotty ways to drink wine.
Swirl it around, you aerate it, all that good stuff.
All that stuff. So when I show up to dinner with these funky bottles sometimes, I think people are like, and we'll open that last if there's no other choice. Yeah.
When the wine tastes like water anyways.
Right. But I brought this over. I guess there was no other bottles to open. She loved it. She bought like a whole case from Total Wine and More.
I might too, because it is really, really good.
Yeah.
And that's so funny. Thank you for explaining it, because I'm just like, here, everybody, see this bottle of wine, forgetting that I'm on a podcast.
Well, we do the videos now, so I think that we're falling into this bad habit of the show and tell and stuff.
Yes.
Forgetting the audio part of it.
Totally. But it came in handy because, A, we're actually undergoing some inclement weather tonight. It's been inclement all day. It started snowing, and then it was freezing, and then it was raining, and then it was snowing and freezing and raining. So I've had a lot of cold legs, cold noses, So, of course, when my husband brings home a bottle of red wine, I'm like, you do love me, don't you? But what's really, really bananas about this whole thing is, like I said, I had to have already a glass of it because we have like a time frame when Wendy and I get together to do the podcast. And she texts me, tells me that she's ready to go. And I'm like, great. So I come down into the podcast dungeon and I text her back and I'm like, cool, call me. And I never hear anything else. And I'm like, that's weird. Crickets. I sent her a picture. I got nothing. Another picture. And I still get nothing. I'm like, this is really weird. What do I do? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to leave the basement, call me. I go upstairs. I'm like, I'll use this time to use the bathroom. I always have to have bathroom breaks while we're podcasting anyways. This is now a good time. Go to the bathroom and I email her. And I'm like, I hope everything's okay. And then I'm like, oh shit, I should have Skyped her. So I come downstairs and I Skype her, and that's when I guess Wendy actually realized, where the hell has she been? But I bet it's because of this inclement weather that maybe there's some problem with the phone.
Well, I wonder almost, too, if it's your basement. Just down there, the service isn't working as well. Maybe with the weather on top of that, because I did eventually get a text from you. But it's maybe when you went up to, go to the bathroom. I don't know.
But I Skyped you from down in the basement, and I emailed you from upstairs.
Right. Well, I checked. I did get the email, but that was only like minutes before I got your text. I thought that Chris has been so busy lately, like with work and they're like house hunting at the same time sporadically. I knew that she might be looking at a property today. So I was like, I don't know, maybe she forgot. She's never late. I'm always the late one. Of course, then there's the me that always thinks of the worst. So the very next thought after that is, or maybe they were in a car accident while they were out looking at houses. And now what the fuck do I do? At what point do I panic? I text Carl and I talk to my oldest kid and I'm like just telling them, hey, she still hasn't called. And they're like, well, why don't you just call her? Or maybe she's just running late. And I was like, yeah, maybe that's it.
It's so weird. So I was going to tell you about the inclement weather and how awesome that is to have, a nice red wine to go with the freezing temperatures outside. It never even dawned on me that it could be causing interference in me getting a hold of you. So Wendy is over there on her side thinking something bad happened to me. And here I am thinking, oh my God, Wendy just never text me back. something bad has happened to Wendy.
What could have happened to me in the time that I told you I was ready? And then, like...
No, I mean, you got kids, you got dogs, anything. Fuck, shit, something could have fell out of the sky.
Oh my God, you are so right. So actually, I'm pretty sure this desk is real wood. So I'm going to knock on it.
Knock on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then I'm going to shake everything on the desk.
It's an earthquake. So, yeah, I was a little panicky. Hold on, let me pour another round so that I can calm down a little bit more in order to tell you a story.
Yeah, and actually my superstitious ass doesn't trust this desk. I want to knock on this table over here real quick. Hold on. I'm going to get up.
Go knock on it.
There
Nice,
we go.
I heard it. Excellent.
Very big about this.
I was actually house hunting today. We had a whole lineup of houses that we were going to go and check out in the New England area, but the snow downfall ruined that for us because, like I said, it got so bad so quickly. The streets got so icy and apparently they weren't ready for it. You would have thought we were driving around in Nashville with the ice hitting the ground.
Yeah.
You know, here in New England, they're typically on top of this sort of shit. They've got it salted. They've got some solution that they've sprayed on the streets, and they got the plows, running like a train, but nothing was going on, and it was really bad. So we looked at one house that was cute, small. The real estate agent used a fisheye lens on those rooms when they took pictures, I guess, because, everything looked so big.
This is the one that you really loved?
It was, and honestly, my husband really had his heart set on it too. Just talking about that house, he would light up. It had a beautiful backyard. It had a river. The house had a river in the backyard. I was so ready to say, look at my river. Obviously, it's not my river, but it would have been that little slice of it that I could see from, day to day. But yeah, and Wendy, everybody and their grandmother showed up for this open house. We got there at 11 when it started, and the street was covered. You would have thought it was like a garage sale, at a big mansion or something. Everything must go. There were so many people lining the street, so many people going up there. And of course, we're like, it's COVID, so what are we supposed to do?
Not just that, but if that many people are looking at it, it could turn into a bidding war. If somebody was okay with the size of the house and stuff. So that's problematic because the price was already up there for a small house,
It was. I mean, it had potential. You could build, onto it. The basement wasn't finished.
Yeah.
There was areas where you could wall up a section and make another
and get more room. Yeah. Well, it's a huge lot. That's the thing. The lot was perfect. I'm still for buying it.
It was so cute. And it was a New England style cape. It is the house of my dreams. It's I loved it. I loved everything about it. It had cedar shiplap. It had an actual fireplace. Of course it does because it's in New England. But when you walked around the back of the house, there's this huge covered porch and you can sit out there and look out at that river. And it's just I can't believe I'm going to have to walk away from this house. It's just the price, and the rooms were really small. And it's most likely going to turn into a bidding war. So they did have gloves, for you to put on so that you didn't have to touch anything. And I guess because of the weather being like it was, they gave you booties to cover your feet so you weren't tracking all that ice and crap through the house. But my dad was like, go take pictures wherever you go. But, when you're wearing the gloves,
your phone doesn't register it. Yeah.
No. So, that was my one house deal. I was supposed to see multiple houses. The weather, again, it worked against me. Worked against me with contacting Wendy, and I couldn't go see houses. Hell, I was even okay, fine. I can't go see houses. Maybe the storm's going to let up and I can just go Christmas shopping. No, it's been on ever since this morning.
That's a bummer.
It's thick, heavy, wet snow. So I am concerned about losing power. So
we better hurry up then.
I was going to say, if you're ready, maybe I should go ahead and get started.
I am ready.
You're ready. So a couple of episodes back, I teased you with the opening to another story saying that the location was in Scotland. Well, this time I'm not teasing you because I have a great little story for you from Edinburgh, or rather under the ancient city of Edinburgh, Scotland, because there is something really creepy there, and it's known as the South Bridge Vaults. Have you heard of this? I saw you're your eyes lit up a little bit.
Well, I've heard of the vaults in Edinburgh, but I don't remember specific names. Okay. So it doesn't sound familiar to me. But then I'm like, well, what part of the fucking vaults was I reading about? But I love it, though.
This is great. So you said that, you kind of remembered some tunnels there. It's all the same thing. All of the tunnels are the same thing. Here, let me just change my background image so that you can get a visual too. Here we go.
Oh, not what I expected to see.
No, it's a map, right? This
Yeah.
is sort of like a diagram of what it is.
I like it, though.
Isn't that nice? It's very informative. I feel like a teacher.
It is.
So the vaults are a series of these dark, dank underground tunnels and chambers that at one time originally served as houses and workspaces for tradesmen and Scotland merchants. But as the conditions deteriorated inside the vaults, the chambers and tunnels over time became where the poorest of Edinburgh's citizens lived and died. Prostitution, poverty, violence, and illness consumed the vaults, and infamous serial killers did a little body snatching using the dark vaults as a place to store their dirty work. But it wasn't always like that. The city of Edinburgh straddles 7 major hills, and the iconic Edinburgh Castle, which has been inhabited by the 2nd century AD, was built into formidable fortifications in the 12th century to protect against dangerous invaders and sieges. There are too many big words in this podcast. I'm already struggling. But naturally, the closer one lived to this castle, the better. So bridges were built to span the deep ravines that sloped away from the castle itself, these being the modern highways of their time. To make way for this grand scheme, there were 3 areas that were demolished, and these were considered to be Edinburgh's poorest and most run-down areas. The winding, crowded streets were knocked to the ground, and the stones were reused. The bridge consisted of 19 stone arches spanning a chasm just over 1,000 feet long. At its highest point, it stood 31 feet above ground and had foundations which penetrated Edinburgh's bedrock as far down as 22 feet.
Shit. Wait,
Yes.
It's a bridge that stands that tall?
Dude, it's a crazy-ass bridge. They have, like, actual buildings on this bridge. It's more like a street. It doesn't even look like a bridge.
Okay, I have seen that. It is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. It blew my mind. Honestly, I felt like I learned a whole new thing with researching the story because I've never been to Scotland. I maybe have heard about this prior to researching the story, but I might have also put it all the way back in a filing cabinet in my brain and forgot about it because, like I said, I was just like, what? You could do that? But anyways, Edinburgh was a fearful and superstitious place at the turn of the 18th century, both of real and of imagined harm. The citizens' fear of what the unearthly and supernatural could inflict was only exasperated by their inherent mistrust of the invading English, a long-held belief that resulted in the building of the defensive Flodden Wall after the disastrous battle of the same name in 1513. So, just a few years ago. The man-made barrier around the outskirts of the city, combined with Edinburgh's natural geography, forced residents to live virtually right on top of one another. They could no longer build outwards, so in most cases, they built straight up. Some of those houses were like mini skyscrapers, being like 14 stories high.
That's crazy.
That's nuts, right?
Yeah, you can't imagine that the architecture was that solid.
Yeah.
And they're just going up, up, up.
Up, up, up. You can imagine every time a strong gust of wind came through, they were probably holding their breath. Yeah. Oh, shit. Okay. So anyways, the fear and mistrust amongst the locals only continued there in Edinburgh, which created a very unwelcoming and anxiety-ridden atmosphere. So when the South Bridge was finally completed in 1788, they wanted to do something good, and they thought it would be appropriate for the bridge's eldest resident, a well-known and respected judge's wife, to be the first to actually cross this fine architectural structure. Sort of like their way of christening the bridge.
Yeah.
But just before the grand opening ceremony could take place, the eldest lady passed away.
Oh, oops.
Yep. She died. And everyone was like, oh, hell no. She's crossing over that damn bridge.
Oh,
So
okay.
she became the first person to cross the bridge, only she was in a coffin. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of dig it, though.
Yeah.
It seems very Scottish to me.
Yes, exactly. They're like, oh, hell no, bitch, you're going.
This is still happening.
Yeah, this is still happening. So underneath the bridge, there were 19 arches supporting it all. This area was quickly transitioned into the many vaults, chambers, and tunnels being walled in and sectioned off into descending levels. So now just beneath the bridge top surface, you have these 120 vaults or rooms. On the surface, it became a booming location for businesses, especially during the Industrial Revolution. And beneath the thriving merchant areas were workshops, and even further below were the living quarters. It was all under this that the underground city inevitably grew, which eventually turned into slums, filled with poverty, illness and violence.
Because, like, who would want to live down there?
Yeah, in those times, it was like they didn't have anything else.
I know, you do it out of necessity, but I imagine, there's people that are striving to try to get out of there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just not the best people that's going to be down there.
Yeah, it was hard times led to bad decisions, led to even worse living conditions, right?
Yeah.
The industrial age in Scotland brought work and wealth, but housing planning and public health did not improve at the same time. Living conditions were horrible, and there was overcrowding as families of more than 10 people lived in cramped rooms. The mortality rates climbed through the roof, and with no sanitation, no running water, and no sunlight in those tunnels, illness spread pretty quickly. Oh, and tuberculosis was also a thing, so you can imagine what happened next.
Oh my God.
And for those who lived very deep in the Edinburgh Vaults, the troubles were even more compounded. The Irish potato?
I love potatoes.
I do too. They are so good. Now, if I can get Gollum to say that instead. Potato. So the Irish potato famine of 1845 flooded Scotland with refugees who often ended up at the very bottom of Southbridge. In addition to all of this, criminals and underworld dwellers moved illicit materials through the tunnels in a black market and created a red light district complete with gambling, pubs, brothels, crime, robbery, and murder. I'm just repeating what I've said before. It was a shithole.
Though, it's just what people had to do. And I think it's kind of cool, the idea of having this underground system of life. Businesses down there and stuff like that. But just living down there all the time is just not a good idea. We require sunlight. And so living in a dark, dank place is just not good for people's mental health.
Yeah.
But the idea of having a few businesses down there, kind of cool.
Yeah, that is kind of cool, depending on the type of business that is down there.
I think the darker made it just even kind of, like the bars and the nightclub and things like that or whatever. That makes sense to kind of have this like a funky little theme to have it underground.
Yeah, I bet it would be really cool, actually.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays. Dark tourism is a thing, and this seems like the perfect place for that, right? So, have a bar, have you a drink, go investigate the vaults. Okay. So the conditions got so bad at one point that serial killers were reportedly able to murder over a dozen helpless victims, storing their bodies in the vaults, all without being detected or stopped.
The police must not go down there? They're just like, I don't want to go down there.
Yeah, pretty much. No, actually, it's weird.
I wonder if it's just so massive. There's just so many little nooks and crannies that you could hide things is the thing.
Yeah, totally. There's like 1,000, or actually there was 120 vaults. I just read that. But it's dark, it's damp, and there's tons of people stuffed in them too. So, it would make sense why it would be harder for them to go in, but that's actually not the real reason. So one infamous instance of this is known as the Burke and Hare murders. In 1828, two Irish immigrants, William Burke and William Hare, allegedly killed 16 people, mostly women, and stashed the dead bodies in the tunnels and chambers until they could sell them off for dissection at anatomy lectures. It was one glass of wine, I'm telling you. It just knocks me on my back. Whatever. What? Edinburgh. Hold on, let me have another swig of that. Okay. Edinburgh was a leading European center of anatomical study in the early 19th century. During this time, the demand for cadavers was so high that there was, unfortunately, also a shortfall in legal supply. At the time, Scottish law required that corpses used for medical research should only come from those that had died in prison, suicide victims, or from foundlings and orphans. So, there being a shortage of corpses led to a black market trade. Suddenly, an increase in body snatching by what were known as the resurrection men began to happen. But families weren't too fond of that sort of shit taking place, so they put measures in place to ensure that the graves were left undisturbed. They created these mort safes. So that stopped many from going after corpses, but not from collecting bodies. And so the murder spree of Burke and Hare began. Now, these guys were eventually caught and hanged in prison, but that didn't stop them from helping to further the scientific study of the anatomy in Edinburgh. They were also dissected, and today Burke's skeleton is on display at the Anatomical Museum of Edinburgh Medical School.
It's just so epic, the way it came back around for him.
It sure did. It was like, oh, you want to do this? Don't worry, we got you. We got you hooked up. So basically, what I got out of it was the police had their hands full with enough shit, like trying to chase off grave robbers and things like that. So they weren't really cued into where are these bodies coming from, sir, when they're just trying to push forward in the, new medical science. They were the leading schools in Europe, so they wanted to continue to be the leading schools in Europe. So they were, here, I'll give you some money, and, nobody's saying anything to the popos, right?
Right. Yeah, because I've watched some stuff on it before. I don't think the doctors cared. They were like, I'm just going to pretend like this is not questionable.
Right. This was a suicide and done. They just closed their eyes and went right into work, which, I have to do the same thing. So anyways, the vault complex ended up being shut down and closed off around 1860. Too much illness and crime and no way to really stop it. So they dumped tons of rubble in it and sealed it off. And they made it impossible for anyone to penetrate it. And the dark history of the Southbridge vaults were simply forgotten over time. In the following decades, the families that had lived and worked down in the tunnels under Edinburgh became somewhat of a legend. Until 1980, when Scottish rugby player Norrie Rowan inadvertently rediscovered the hidden tunnels and chambers and then just decided he was going to start excavating them. Well, what do we have around here? This is cool. I'll take that. He restored the vaults, removed hundreds of tons of rubble, which included children's toys, medicine bottles, plates, and a bunch of other types of household items, like just a bunch of shit. It was almost like they turned this creepy tunnel system into like an underground landfill.
Yeah, but they've got to be like considered antiques now.
I know, right? And I don't know if he kept anything cool. I think he was just like, no, I just want these tunnels. Get out of here. Get out of my way.
He's just trashing everything where we would have been like, oh my God, look at this.
I know. We would have been like analyzing every little thing and like our pockets would have been full. Let's take this home, clean it up. But he had a good idea, Wendy, and you were already keyed into this at the very beginning of my story. So when Norrie Rowan finished cleaning the place up, he did what any other self-serving Scot would do in this situation. He opened up a nightclub.
Yeah, I was going to say a bar.
A bar.
Got it.
Which, of course, this also caught the attention of other businesses that seemed to want a piece of the dungeon-like atmosphere. What other businesses, you might ask, might want to be down in this dark, damp, hidden location? Ghost tour companies, of course.
Of course. I was about to say, just about anything we're interested in.
Right, exactly.
Put a spiritual shop down there.
Oh, yes. That would be fantastic. You've got your place to buy pendulums, your tarot readers, you got the bar already. I'm not so keen on the nightclub. Maybe I can just sit down somewhere cozy in the vault.
I'm digging this.
I love it. So the Ghost Company tours have also claimed that the vaults are the capital's most haunted location. So, now don't get me wrong here. It's flippin' creepy. It's dark, it's cramped and ancient, but many say that there are literally hundreds of ghost sightings and paranormal happenings from over the years. Some that have even happened during conducted tours. Visitors have reported being touched or having other types of physical contact, which are usually resulted in the form of scratches and bruises to the skin. Ooh. Don't like that. People who have headed down to the lower levels are usually greeted by a blast of cold air, followed by the sounds of children yelling and women singing. And many others have seen full-blown apparitions, which has led to the naming of a series of entities known to haunt the chambers. The first and most well-known of the vault spirits is Mr. Boots, but he is also known as the Watcher. So Mr. Boots is said to manifest himself and appears as a tall, shabby man. He usually sticks to the back section of the vaults, but you'll likely hear his heavily booted footsteps approaching before you actually see him, hence the name. Poor guy, though. He's probably like, yeah, that's my cat's name. Can you just call me Glenn? Or no?
I like that he gives a fair warning that he's coming.
Stop.
Yeah.
So Mr. Boots, as a little bit of a backstory, he's believed that he once lived in the vaults, though they think that he may have possibly have been a slumlord. And they feel that he murdered at least one woman there in the vaults. So, yeah, like you said, it is good that he gives you some warning that he's coming. You don't really want to stick around for this guy. He's not cool. He has been seen looking at visitors in the vaults with a leering grin, but he's got no eyeballs in his eye sockets.
No.
Well, little disturbing.
Little.
So people that come across him strongly dislike being down there, and out of all of the spirits in the vault complex, Mr. Boots is thought to be the most malicious and violent by far. He has been credited as the invisible force who is known to violently push visitors, and I bet it's because y'all keep calling him Mr. Boots.
It might have something to do with it.
He's just like, stop it! Glenn!
Well, if he's stomping around like that too, he sounds like he's a dick.
Yeah, he is.
But yeah, I bet he doesn't like that name at all because it's just a little too soft.
Mr. Boots, where are you, Mr. Boots? It's dinner time. So along the lines of manifesting, I have a picture to go along with this story, and I really, really, really hope that I can send you pictures tonight because I have a ton of them. So here's one of the pictures, and I must forewarn you before you see it, it's super tough to make out. There is a circle around it, which helps, and there's also a side-by-side, but it's still a little rough. Here's the first one. So you've got a little bit of a comparable pic here. The picture was taken by Emma Surgener in 2015. She was on a tour of the vaults with her sister, Lauren, who is the one in the picture not circled.
Right.
Lauren said that she felt uneasy while she was there. And of course, this picture was only noticed after the tour. Emma Surgener says that she was petrified after visiting the vault and feels that she captured an image of the watcher standing beside her sister.
In the side-by-side, are we supposed to be seeing anything? They've washed the color out, or it's a black and white.
Yes. So it is the exact same picture, only the circle is missing. And they've removed like all of the shadows so that you can kind of maybe see more of an outline there. Like you can kind of see more of what looks like feet and like maybe a long coat. Whereas in the original picture, I don't see anything.
So I see the boots.
You do see the...
I do. I mean, I see what I think they're trying to say are boots. It could be anything, honestly. But it's in the same placement, I think, as where it would be on the other one.
So the story was such a big deal that the UK national press picked it up, and they got apparently experts involved to play with the lighting. So that's where you can see the other image where like all of the shadows have been removed from the picture. And they also put together another version of the same image that they felt made things a little bit more clear. So this one actually looks kind of like a very enlightened, maybe night vision version of the same picture. I don't know who these experts are that did the analyzing and the amazing whitewashing of these pictures, but it blew up in the UK. So they had to say that some experts got in on this, I guess.
I suspect these experts are owls or eagles.
Yeah.
Something with amazing eyesight.
Yeah, I mean, you see I'm wearing glasses here. I can't.
Like I said, the first one I can make out where they might be thinking they see boots. Okay. But the more you zoom in, this could also just be the floor.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, I see what you think might be a long coat. It could be anything. And the one where they took all the color out, I don't see shit, really.
Yeah.
I see the woman.
Yes, the woman, she stands out. You can definitely see her there. Didn't have to change the color at all.
No, I mean, I see nothing else, really, to be honest. Nothing that I would be like, oh my God, there's a ghost.
Oh my God.
I would see it and be like, does that look like something's there to you? That's crazy. I wonder. Yeah. And I wouldn't show it to a single person because
no, I know.
It would be like, could just be my eyes.
I'm wondering if the reason why, like I said, they got experts involved and they analyzed the picture and they said that they were unable to explain the phenomena in the image. So I wonder if they went back to the exact same spot and they could see, like maybe you should be able to see light right there.
Yes, I was just thinking that too, because you could see the lights that are on the ceiling. So I wonder if this thing is blocking out like one of the vaults.
Yeah.
Because it is blocking out something if there is supposed to be anything other than a slab of wall behind him.
Right.
I mean, okay, I guess it's fair that they took it to someone.
So there's that one. That one's like the most famous picture that's out there, which is really kind of crazy because when I show you these other ones, you're going to be like, you should have started with this. So next up is the Aristocrat, who is a spirit that is a well-to-do gentleman. He wears a tall black hat and has a beard. And what is this man doing down in these dirty-ass vaults? Excuse me, sir, are you lost? Did you hear my story? Only the destitute are supposed to be down here. But apparently not, because this high-class spirit has been spotted leaning against a wall, grinning at passing visitors. And I guess he's got eyeballs because he's not creeping them out. No one's claiming that he's aggressive, but many people feel like just some sort of a sinister presence when they spot him. So maybe he's just kind of a weirdo.
Well,
creepy.
So he could be down there just because, like, maybe above ground his wife nags at him when he gambles or drinks too much. So he just feels more connected with the people that are down there, just living life, enjoying it.
That's
not all the proper. Happy. Yeah.
Right.
Or he's down there to get women.
Yeah.
And that makes him a creep. So.
That makes him a creep. Especially if he's like, hey, baby, leaned all up against the wall.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, I know, thank you. Then there's also the spirit of a cobbler, which, unlike Boots and the Aristocrat, the cobbler is described as a short, stocky man wearing a long apron. He also got his name from his appearance, but he seems to be a positive spirit, reportedly working and smiling away without a care in the world. Many say that they feel a positive energy in his presence, so yay for the cobbler. Except he's not alone in there, so maybe he's a residual haunting. Apparently, in the cobbler's room, on the opposite side of the same room, there is said to be the spirit of a woman that lingers, and possibly another male malevolent spirit that deeply resents pregnant women. Anytime I hear that exact line, I'm like, where's Amy Allen? This is like her thing. Get your big ol' eyeballs over here, lady. So that woman spirit, she appears in all black and is claimed to have told psychics that she lost her child, though how she lost the child has never been discovered. She appears in a distressed state, usually pulling at her clothes or pulling at her hair. Pregnant women, I don't recommend you going down into the vaults anyways. Just think of your own safety first. But nonetheless, pregnant women have gone and have toured it and apparently have gotten really bad feelings in this room, which causes them to become like aggressively sick. Just pregnant women, though. I think you and I are thinking along the same lines. I mean, when you're pregnant,
yes,
anything makes you sick. It's dank, it's dark. I got sick when I was pregnant to the smell of money. It doesn't make me sick now, but man, when I was pregnant, I would hurl. So, I mean, things happen to your body when you're pregnant.
Yeah, and you're down there. You don't know what kind of air quality is down there.
Right.
So I would imagine it just gets to be too much for you eventually.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, I would check with your health professional first. Let him know what you're planning on doing. And if he's like, yeah, sure, it's all good, then okay. But just think about how bad it could be and maybe wait. So we also have the spirit of a little boy. And this one does finally have a name. He's known as Jack. Jack is a blonde, curly-haired boy of about 6 or 7, often seen wearing a blue suit with knickerbocker trousers. Don't ask me what those are, but I had to leave them in.
Because it's such a fun word.
It is. He wanders the vaults and is attracted to women and children and is known to grab the hands of visitors and he tugs on their clothes. He shows himself as a full-bodied apparition and sometimes throws rocks at you for fun.
Oh.
So he's kind of an ass.
Oh, he's just trying to get your attention.
Yeah, he's probably just trying to get your attention. If he's grabbing at your hand and you're like, ooh, what was that? And he's tugging at your clothes and you're like, I must be stuck on something. He's like, damn it, how could I just pop him with a little rock?
Chucking bricks at you and stuff.
Chucking them, that's different. It's like a huge boulder. So the story of Jack apparently goes back a really long time. They think that he is one of the unsolved missing person cases from 1810. But more investigation still needs to be done to get more answers. And hopefully it is a little boy and not a demon dressed up like a kid making up stories just to sucker you in. One tour group called Aldrich Tours has had quite a number of their own experiences. And if you read the reviews, there have been dozens of people claiming to have their own experiences while on these tours as well. Many claiming that they had been attacked by whatever lives in the chambers. So I'm going to show you a picture taken from one of the tour guides at Aldrich Tours. They called it the Ghost Girl.
Yeah, this one is good.
That's good, right? Isn't that crazy? That one's, I thought, was very clear. That was captured by the tour group themselves. There's nothing really known about who she is, just that this interesting picture came from inside the vaults. And I don't need an expert to tell me shit about this one. I see her.
Yeah, and I don't really just see how the wall, like patterns and markings on the wall, could make all of this happen.
Yeah.
Her face is, what's happening there, though?
I don't know.
I mean, you don't see a face really, but like where the head should be, it's very dark.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, what? She got like a beekeeper mask on or something? What the fuck is happening here? Because it's not even a round shaped head.
I completely skipped that in my story. They did keep bees down in these vaults. No. No, honestly, like it's so funny. The first time I opened this up and I'm like, it's a pharaoh.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily look like a woman when you focus on the facial features or where the head is supposed to be, whatever's happening there. It's just that it looks like they're wearing a dress, I guess. Yeah. But, I mean, that could be like an apron or something, too. I don't know.
Yeah, it totally could be like a cobbler's apron or something like that, like the cobbler's supposed to wear. But it does give off the appearance of a beard. And like he's wearing, honestly, to me, it does kind of look like one of those sweet New England style. You can get them anywhere, so it doesn't have to be New England. But it's the leather hat that kind of wraps around the ears a little bit. You can pin it up so that the flaps, pin to the top of your head. That's kind of looks like that.
Well, it is interesting because, like I said, whatever it is, whoever it is, I don't see how the wall necessarily could have made all this shape. So I think they're definitely looking at something there.
That's a good one. I was really happy with that picture. I was like, how come this isn't the most famous picture from the vaults? I like it. So I have another one that I want to share with you. It's a really cool picture. This was taken from a lady by the name of Nikki Curry. She's from St. Andrews, Fife, and the mom of two used her camera flash to light up the tunnels when she was on a tour. She said that she was too creeped out by the pitch darkness. So yes, a strobing effect by your camera is the way to go. I don't know about that.
No, remember that woman that toured Pavelia Island? And she said that's how she had to get through there because her flashlight went out.
Yeah, it's just like I've seen that too many times in horror movies, and then something just appears in the darkness. So I won't be doing that. I'd rather go in closer.
So yeah, that's cool. It doesn't necessarily make shape to me.
Yeah, so the picture that I just sent Wendy this time is more of like a white mist.
So if she's flashing her camera around and there is other light in this room, I don't know enough about cameras and the effects of all that to know if it could put off a little foggy mist. It doesn't seem like it could, the placement of where that light is.
Yeah.
But it's just a blob of mist. That looks like it goes down, so I think there's stairs there or it's just open.
It does look like it would be, probably stairs. But, I mean, if it's dusty and dirty, I mean, somebody could have just, kicked up some dust and, took a picture. Mm-hmm. Could be that. So it was just an interesting picture from just a tourist being on a group down in the vaults.
I'd show it to everybody I know. I just wouldn't call the news about it.
Well, I think she did. I think I found this on a news site. And then there is the witch room ghost. This one was taken with a full spectrum camera in a room that the tour groups have themed out to make it look like a satanic ritual type of an area where you go to do your dark gatherings and whatnot. Yeah, so this is part of the cheese. And I did read that a lot of people thought that the place was too gimmicky. So just know that they have themed out certain areas of the tunnels just to add a little bit of the woo spooky effect.
I want to start a petition for all of that to stop.
I'll sign it. Send it to me.
If you need that to have a good time at a haunted location, then you shouldn't be going there. You're just not allowed. I mean, no.
I think that the problem with something like that is you're immediately put on the defense. You start to think, wait, what are they selling me here? Is it like a jump scare? Or is it like I'm actually going to be able to communicate with the spirit? You don't know when someone's doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't need your wax figures at all, ever. But I don't need you decorating. It's one thing when, like, Zach Bagans does it in his museum to show off his weird things he's bought.
It's a museum, right?
Yeah. Look, what I'm looking at right behind you right now, that's creepy enough, okay?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what people like us would be paying to see. So I don't know if this was at a certain time of the year, like a Halloween time they did this, but I really don't think so based on some of the things that I read. I think that
it's up all the time.
Yeah. I think they tried to just make it even more spooky.
Some people need that. Some people might walk through the tunnels like they are right behind you, where it's just little cutouts of all the little places where people lived and worked and whatnot. Somebody will walk through that and be like, this is just a fucking hole in the ground.
Right, exactly. What am I even here for? This isn't spooky. Blah. Yeah, exactly.
What, I paid money for this? So they have to put furniture in some rooms. It's like people, you were talking about looking at houses. There's some people that cannot see past other people's stuff,
Sure.
or if it's not the right color. They're just, I can't live here. This room is yellow. It's called paint. You just change it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some people need that to get into it. But, I just vote that you just don't get to go to these places then.
No, I agree. I like your petition. Don't text it to me, though. Email it to me because apparently I'll get it if you email it to me.
All right. So on to this picture.
So this was captured by Lee Hart, who was from the Really Haunted UK Paranormal group. So he was actually down there investigating it.
Okay.
He said that along with this photo, there were strange, unexplained disturbances, which include furniture being moved and missiles launching at guests. He also said stones and tables appear to move on their own. So, like I said, I get a little leery knowing that they've haunted the place up for the effect and concerned that in a dark place that they may also be adding something that could make the furniture move as well. But given this misty image that Lee captured in the room, it kind of calms down my little skepticism a little bit because this is an interesting picture that he caught. I don't think that this is something that they could produce. I don't know if you're looking at it now, but in the picture, you look straight to the right, and there is some kind of a form that appears to be like on one of the, I don't know, a bench. They made it look like you're, in a circle in a pentagram doing some kind of Satanism or whatever. So this guy's probably like, wow, when the hell did all of this stuff get in my room?
Yeah, no, I see it for sure. And then, this is not something that I think you could set up for a haunted house. So this is on this guy's camera. I wonder if there is something white in the fabric on that couch, or is that a part of the image?
Oh, I see what you're saying. And I saw that earlier too. I took that to be as part of the couch because they didn't go into it any further other than there is this white misty form that appeared on the right-hand side of the picture, what you're looking at. So I'm like, okay, I think I'm looking through it and I see something on the couch. Like, I think it's the blanket that's actually on the couch and it's pulled away so that you see that white piece of the couch on that side. Because if you look on the other side of the couch, like you can kind of see that the blanket is just sort of draped on that side.
Yeah. Okay. So that's not a part of its clothing. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I almost think I can see a face in the mist there, which didn't line up with the white part. So that's why I was really asking about that, because I'm like, well, he's really odd shaped.
Yeah.
If that's his shirt.
I do see a face. That was really interesting. To me, it looked like it was looking right at me. I was like,
It does. It looks like it's looking at the camera. And then, I mean, okay, maybe it's matrixing that we're doing here, but it's right in that foggy stuff. I mean, I don't see faces anywhere else. I'm scanning the whole room.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably cross your eyes and look at the pentagram and you might see something.
Let's try it out. Ready, set, go.
All right. So there are allegedly dozens of spirits and energies here as well. But among one of my favorites, no offense to Mr. Boots, but there is the spirit of a shaggy dog.
Aww.
I love him. He is said to brush against your leg, and investigators and tour guides are certain that it's a dog and not just a creepy, eyeless, grinning weirdo, because they say that you'll hear the sound of paws walking along the passages in the vault, and you can sometimes even hear him barking.
Aww.
So in 2003, BBC Radio Scotland producer Debbie McPhail was speaking to Norrie Rowan about the vaults. Her team used the vaults beneath the South Bridge as the location for recording a historical program called Underground Lives, which had nothing to do with ghosts. Not one bit.
Right, yeah, just covering the history on people living down there.
Yeah, I should have looked for it. I didn't have any time. But if they actually went through with it, I bet it was an interesting story. It was when Miss McPhail played the recorded tape back that there was another voice on the audio. The recording they had made was decided to be unusable due to a mysterious voice that spoke over the intended voices and covered their audio. Colleagues who played it back claim it sounded like a voice speaking in Gaelic saying, "Get out or go away." Miss McPhail said at the time, "I am a cynical person by nature, especially about this sort of thing. But I just don't have any explanation for it." She went on saying, "When I was listening back to the recording, I could hear Norrie Rowan chatting, and then I heard another voice. It was close to the microphone because you can tell if voices are far away or not." The reporter added, "The voice had a slightly Irish accent, but I couldn't understand why no one had responded to it." So she asked who they had met in the vault, but the team said, "Nobody. Lady, what are you talking about?" McPhail let her husband listen to the tape, and she says, "My husband thought it could be Gaelic, So I asked a colleague who spoke the language, and they said that they thought they were saying, get out or go away. Gordon Stewart, assistant director at Meerkat Tours. Yes.
Trying to think what a meerkat is. Those
aren't they the cute little, they stand up on their hind legs and they're all like adorable.
Yeah, I don't think they have meerkats in Scotland. So
no, but they live in little underground tunnels, right?
Oh, okay. That's what they're doing. Yeah, all right.
I love it if that's what they're doing.
Because I guess mole people would be offensive.
Mole people tours. That's hysterical. So they conduct tours and visits around the vaults by university-trained historians. And Gordon Stewart said that there was a high level of unexplained activity. And I quote, "It is an unusual story and quite chilling. I think it could be the first time anything like this has been recorded in Edinburgh. I'm not saying this proves the existence of ghosts, but it's intriguing." Mr. Stewart added, "Psychics have reported that a nasty entity resides here and feels that it ties in with the voices appearing to shout, 'Get out.'" In 2006, the vaults attracted the attention of TV show's Most Haunted. Hosted by Yvette Fielding, the Most Haunted team investigated the vaults on 2 occasions, claiming it was home to a myriad of supernatural occurrences that defy explanation. During the live event in 2006, the show's cameraman passed out, and another member of the crew said he felt he'd been stabbed. Oh my God, that had to have been like a bad feeling. Just like, you just work in and you're like, oh, I gotta go.
We talked about that before. Somebody else had said that, and we're like, how do you know what it feels like to be stabbed if you've never been stabbed before?
Is that when I said, well, I know because I have been stabbed before?
Yes! Oh my gosh! We did have that conversation.
I do know that feeling. It sucks. Okay, moving on.
But I mean, like, girls have cramps and stuff like that.
Right.
And then a guy, they always say couldn't handle it at all.
Well, I don't know. Maybe this guy had been in a knife fight before or something.
Maybe.
Because
so I don't know what his life choices have been like, so.
No, and let me just clarify. I was not in a knife fight. Complete accident. I know it's weird. How do you get stabbed by accident? Silly, silly life things, let me just say. So he said that he felt they had been stabbed and had received scratches and other unexplained injuries even following the live broadcast on TV. So it continued to happen to him even afterwards, which totally sucks.
Yeah.
That's a note. The experiences they had, again, seem to mirror many of the same experiences that have been reported by tourists and investigators. So you can pretty much expect that you're not going to feel really good down in the vaults unless, of course, you run into the dog or the cobbler. That's about it. So the Edinburgh Vaults were also investigated by Ghost Adventures.
Dun, da, da.
But you have to go back really, really, really far. You have to go to the 7th episode of season 1, and that was back in 2008. To get this gem.
Back when Zach would actually travel somewhere.
Back when he would leave his cute little cave and his dog, and he would go into another cave. Not so cute. And yeah, this was a fun episode to rewatch because the whole original crew was there, all acting like the fucking Three Stooges. It's impressive. So the Ghost Adventures team ventures into the vaults, led by a guide named Des Brogan, who is from the Meerkat tour group. The guide prefers to show them around using candles instead of flashlights, and he says it's because the flashlights piss off the ghosts. I mean, I did say that they like to haunt it up, so either it's true about the spirits not liking flashlights, or it's for the extra creep factor. But I will say that if you were living in a dark, damp vault underground for, a little while, then maybe you got used to not having any bright lights shown in your face. So maybe there is some truth behind, his theory on using the candles versus flashlights.
Oh, I could see that. It's like when you're at a campground or whatever, and then somebody's going through trying to get to the bathroom and they're shining all kinds of fucking lights into your tent and stuff. And it's like, motherfucker.
Out of here.
Yeah.
I know. That's really annoying. You're
Learn
right.
to hold your pee.
So either way, they end up in Mr. Boots' room, where Zach is told that Mr. Boots hates anyone being in the room because of the spirit of the young woman that was murdered there. So that didn't sit well with Zach, and he proceeds to tell the ghost what's up, saying, I'm going to be here in this room. We're all going to be locked down in here, and if you don't like it, you need to make yourself known, right now. So all of a sudden, Nick interrupts Zach, in mid-sentence. He's like, whoa, 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 I just saw a figure pass right outside this room, right there. At the same time, Aaron's freaking out because he heard, a very heavy, breathy sound. This is all happening at the same time. And Brogan, who's a tour guide, tells Zach that no one has ever issued a challenge to Mr. Boots before, And he felt like all of that was a direct result of what Zach had just said.
Yeah, I bet, but I'm surprised nobody else had challenged him before now.
Well, they're super proper, I guess. I don't know.
They're just nicer. Not a lot of Americans go down there.
Probably now since Ghost Adventures has been there. But it was really adorable because, like I said, it was very Three Stooges like. Anyways, he's all big and bad and he's punking him out. And then Nick sees something and then Aaron hears something and they're just like, woo! Like everything just happens all at once. I did that wrong. So Zach was feeling pretty good about himself when Brogan says, nobody does that around here, kind of, So Zach stands up and he's all like, well, that's what we do. And the tour guide looks like he's about to shit his pants. So they move on. They go into an area where the cobbler is. And also, like on the other side of the room is this very upset woman. Brogan illustrates getting pushed out of the corner by who they think is the upset woman. It's another one of the stories that are said down there that apparently if you stand in her corner, that either the woman or this malevolent male spirit just pushes you right from your spot. So he's illustrating that, like he's getting pushed. And just as he does that, Aaron immediately tells Zach that a weird halo has just appeared on Zach on his camera. It appeared there and seemed like really strange to him. He flips to Nick's camera, who shows Zach without the halo. So Aaron looks at the lens and says, like, there's nothing like on the lens, like spit or dust or anything like that. He turns the camera back around to continue filming Zach, and his camera just shuts off.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I did screenshot those pictures for you. I was going to put them behind me so that you could at least have Zach Bagans behind me, but it did not work. So let me just send you these so you can see what this halo is of Zach Bagans from Aaron's camera. I took two good ones, but he was moving so quickly that it was tough. So,
he is a little jacked in these. I thought he didn't get jacked until the second season.
There you go.
I guess I was thinking of documentary Zach Bagans.
Oh, yeah.
A little kid.
Mm-hmm. So there's the two from Aaron's camera. Here's the one from Nick's camera. So you can see that there's like absolutely no halo. He looks crystal clear. In fact, maybe a little too bright. Maybe that's why they use Aaron's camera. But look at his cute little candelabra. Isn't that adorable?
That is really pretty. It's all twisty and stuff.
It is.
Like very cool.
That is like table for two. Yes, please. So they just decide to go right ahead into their lockdown. And this is like 7 o'clock at night. And Aaron immediately hears scuffling down into one hall. The team goes right back into Mr. Boots' room where Zach starts provoking Mr. Boots. All of a sudden, Nick says he feels fingers brush against his hair. And Zach also, at this time, hears a breathy sound. Aaron records a ball of light coming straight out of Mr. Boots' room and floats right into the back of Zach's neck. Now, Zach was the one that was provoking. So to me, it's kind of like
Ooh.
At that moment, Zach and Nick both start experiencing physical contact, all while the tri-field meter has this huge spike. All the way up to 20. So within minutes of Nick feeling his hair get touched, the energy just amps up. It goes from his hair getting touched, then suddenly he's got a headache. He's like, my head's really pounding. Zach walks over to the tri-field meter next to Nick. Nick starts saying, now his head is starting to burn. And that's when the spike in the meter happens. Zach says something touches his arm and he squeals. It's a really great moment and Ghost Adventures TV time. So Zach decides he's going to stay behind in Mr. Boots' room while he shoos off the others. Goodbye. Good day. Have fun. It's cute because if you watch the video, like Aaron's like, dude, can you believe he was provoking Mr. Boots? And Nick is like with Boston accent, no, man, I can't believe anyone would do that. Like they're talking shit and things start happening to them. So anyways, it goes back to Zach and he's sitting in Mr. Boots' room and all of a sudden he starts to have this terrible oppressive feeling. So he's starting to ask questions that are, again, provoking, right? He's like, yo, I'm here. I know you don't like people sitting here. Well, I'm sitting here and I'm not going anywhere. You know how he does.
Yeah.
While he's sitting there, you suddenly hear a loud scratching noise on the wall, like right next to him. And he freaks out and jerks around as quickly as he could, but he was sitting down. So it was more like a jerk scoot. He says that he thought it sounded like a rock had really hit the wall. But to me, again, it sounded like a scratch. You could hear it clear as day. And there's a camera facing him. I didn't see the camera. I assume it was just a static camera.
Right.
Because the other two guys are, like I said, they're off in another world talking shit about Zach. Did they even realize that they were filming? Because I was like, oh my God, I know why Nick's gone.
Right.
So he really panics when he suddenly gets blasted with freezing cold air. Now remember, he's been sitting in this vaulted room for a while now, and then it's just like whoosh. So he didn't like that. He starts calling for Nick and Aaron to come back, and it's cute because you go back to them, and all of a sudden you just hear Zach's voice far off in the distance. Aaron, Nick! And they're like, whoa, was that Zach? And they just go running back to his rescue. So they meet Zach back at Mr. Boots' room, and they all start kind of like having a, let's discuss our next move here. And while they're discussing it, and like just as Zach is about to start provoking again, they start to hear a really bizarre dragging noise coming from somewhere else in the vaults. This dragging noise lasted for 6 whole minutes. And Zach explained it to sound something similar to a dragging / sawing noise. It was constant, and it lasted for 6 minutes, and then no more.
That's interesting. I mean, because you said there were businesses down there, so it could be a residual sound. It's a residual sound either way, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it's like dragging a body or just working in your shop.
Right. Well, that's what they thought too. So they ended up moving to the cobbler's room thinking, okay, well, this is the one dude that we know has a job down here. So maybe he was sawing shoes. I don't know.
Don't think that's how that works.
Dragging the leather down the stairs. I don't know. And right as soon as they get in there, they record a loud knock that's followed by the slight sounding, like very brief female voice. They move over to the corner of the room where the female spirit is said to haunt. And after hearing the first knock, they get another knock. This time it's a louder knock. And it was in an answer to Nick asking if the spirit hates pregnant women. We don't know if the one knock was a yes or if the one knock was a no because they didn't specify. They just asked a question, got a knock, and they got the fuck out of there. So they then moved into what is called the White Room. And this is where Des Brogan told Zach that the spirit of Jack is most often reported. They leave Aaron in there alone to do his own thing while Zach and Nick continue on. Aaron was standing there in the room during an EVP session. He hears and records footsteps, and he immediately says it was a dog yelping.
Aww.
He got it on audio too. So there's a little bit of the doggy. Later on, the team pretty much disappears after setting up a static camera in the White Room. They place a teddy bear there for the spirit of Zach.
You know he's coming back as a ghost one day.
Yeah, right? I know. I wonder what place he would choose. If he can haunt any place, like what would be at his top of the list?
His house, because he's not going anywhere else. No, that museum or his house.
Yeah, somewhere where he's comfortable. That makes sense. So they put a teddy bear there for the spirit of Jack to interact with. And then I think they went and took a little snooze in the bus because you don't see him again for the rest of the show.
They're like jet lag. They're like, no, we're trying.
They had a lot of energy going into this, and they really knocked it out of the park. So kudos to them.
Yeah, it sounds like they had experiences with every single ghost that's supposed to be down there, you know?
Yeah, exactly. They were all like, hey, it's the Ghost Adventures. They really came to see us. Cool. I'm going to interact with them. Like, they were the biggest fans, you know? Ghost Adventures back in the day, they would do this, you wanted us, you got us, like thing. Like they were, the rock stars have just shown up to the show.
We should start trying that.
Have you heard of us?
No, don't even say that. Just, you wanted us, you got us. And the ghosts are like, who? Are we supposed to know them?
Oh, wait, maybe they're on that other TV show.
She looks like that one girl. I don't know.
I just have to.
I know the big eyes.
I can do that.
Yeah, what if we just dressed up? Like, you're going to be Amy Allen, so my hair's kind of light. I'll be the other Amy.
Oh, yeah, we could do the two Amy's duo.
Yeah.
This is great. This is fun. This is what we're doing from now on. Oh, man. Well, let me tell you what Zach did.
Okay.
So after an hour, remember they'd stationed like a bear and a video camera right in the White Room.
Yeah.
So after an hour of the camera in the vault, it captures the bear moving all on its own.
Like how?
The little guy looks like it was just gently pushed backwards. Like he kind of shifts to the side a little bit and then he falls back, but he doesn't fall completely. He's just kind of like, and now I'm in this position, Completely opposite from, he was sitting right here. And now he was all like off on his side and on his back a little bit. Not laid back completely, but like definitely in a completely different position.
That's crazy.
That is really cool. I should have taken a screenshot for you. I'll link the episode.
I like you reenacting it for me.
They also left a tri-field meter next to a camera on it too. So the meter spikes all the way up to 15, and it was very quickly, and it was at the same time the bear was moved just slightly and rolled over onto its side.
Yeah, perfect. How would they, if it was all fake, how would they do that? Okay, fine. They can put a string or something on the bear, even though people can analyze that and they can see whether there's strings or not.
Yes, Slim Ricky would have gotten involved and he would have seen that shit.
Yeah, so I mean, like, would they put their reputation on the line like that? So I don't know what other things that you could do to make it move without a string. But how do they get inside that tri-field meter and make it? I own one. I don't see how you do that.
No, and it's a good classic device. It is strong. It's not like, the K2 is so sensitive. You get an email and it's like, blah, 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 blah. You go next to a fridge and it's blah, blah, blah. But the tri-field, I feel like it's a brick, man. It's there to just detect only EMF. It's not looking for cell phone towers or things like that.
It does go off because of those things, but you have to be there. It has to be like next to it.
So, but it should have been going off the whole time, not just sporadically.
I'm saying they come in the room and they send an email. I don't think it's going to make it go off if they're behind the camera. They're too far away is what I'm saying. But we have been like in the middle of taking a break or something before, and it's on the table and we're right there with our phones and I can see it interacting that way.
Okay. Yeah. But you have to be right on top of it.
You have to practically be on top of it.
So another interesting part of this is 10 minutes later, they recorded the audio of a young child speaking for a full second.
This is perfect.
I know. I wish it had been all at the same time, but at least we got an EVP to go with it. They weren't able to figure out what the kid was saying. You can even tell when you watch the episode that Zach had a hard time with the accents anyways. Like he's just like really struggling there. I mean, it's a thick Scottish accent. So, I mean, unless you're tuned into that accent, it is a little tougher for you. So the kid might have had a Gaelic or an Irish or a Scottish accent, and maybe they just were like, yeah, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. To me, I thought I heard the voice say, come on. I mean, it had those kind of syllables like, come on, like something like that. And maybe he was like to the bear or to the Ghost Adventures crew, or I don't know, maybe to another spirit that was down there. Again, I just love to speculate. And that's what I thought I heard, but I don't really know. And like I said, the crew didn't take a stab at it either. So the lockdown ended at 6:40 a.m. and they deemed the vaults as an evil place.
So maybe there's some rough characters down there, but I don't know if I'd go that far to call it evil.
He didn't run into any demons, but there was a lot of activity down there. So it was a fun place, I thought. It was a great episode. And while they were there in the area, they took a little tour of the infamous Greyfriar graveyard, but not as to investigate it. They were just going there to check it out. And this is one hauntingly gorgeous cemetery that also has a very interesting legend to it as well. So I could not just simply name drop this place without giving you a little bit more information on it. So here's this cool haunted cemetery. Let me change my pictures. Here we go.
Look at that. It is so beautiful.
Isn't that pretty?
Yes.
And it just goes on and on and on. While Zach's walking through there, he's freaking out too. He's like, what is this place? All the skulls? What is that? There's like mold coming out of like the angel's nostrils in like weird places and stuff. He's like, look at that. So epic. The place was beautiful.
I bet.
Most of the hauntings at this place are linked to the man named George Mackenzie, who in life was a merciless judge that presided over the trials of the Presbyterian Covenanters in the 1670s. The Covenanters, had petitioned the king to allow freedom to practice their religion without interference. To crush this rebellion against the crown, Bloody Mackenzie, as he became known, was brutal in his punishments and imprisoned 1,200 Covenanters in a field next to Greyfriars Kirkland or cemetery. The prisoners spent over 4 months outside of the graveyard awaiting trial. They had no shelter. They were given a daily food allowance of just 4 ounces of bread, so I would be dead. And the conditions were so inhumane that the Covenanters' prison is often described as the world's first concentration camp. In the end, many prisoners were executed and hundreds died of maltreatment. And a twist of fate George Mackenzie was buried in a black mausoleum in Greyfriars, which was just around the corner from Covenanters Prison. Today, Bloody Mackenzie may be dead and gone, but his spirit is said to live on, and he physically attacks people. It's not a nice one. The attack started in 1999 after a homeless man broke into Mackenzie's mausoleum. When the man tried to break into the casket, he stepped backwards and fell through and into an old pit, which was discovered to contain the rotting remains of plague victims from centuries earlier.
Ooh.
He said that he saw a black apparition while trying to climb out, and he ran screaming about the horror that he faced while down there. And that'll teach him. Today, the mausoleum now has a metal grate covering the spot within the mausoleum where this happened. And it looks like you can see it, but you got to get at a really weird angle, kind of all up on this man's mausoleum door to see it. So, I've seen a picture of the door is a little scuffed. So people are trying to get in and let's see this thing.
Yeah, I probably would.
I mean, yeah, that would be me. So since then, the Greyfriars Churchyard has been the center of strange events linked to the Mackenzie poltergeist. Visitors have left the cemetery with bruises, scratches, bite marks, and burns. What are they doing in there? Some have passed out or gotten sick. Most attacks have occurred near the Black Mausoleum and the Covenanters prison. There have even been 2 failed attempts at an exorcism in Greyfriars, which resulted in one of the exorcists dying a week later.
Look, that's just not wise. You don't go to a cemetery and try to exorcise anything.
Anything.
You know how many people are already there? They're like, who are they talking to? Not me, motherfucker.
Right. Oh, you want to exorcise me? I'm going to see where you live. Yeah, I don't know. It obviously wasn't a good situation. And that one poor guy, he died because of it. So, yeah, I don't know. I never heard of such a thing. The attacks escalated to the point where the city of Edinburgh closed off Covenanters prison from the public. Now the city only allows controlled visits to that section through booked tours. So you can't go and see it anymore. I mean, maybe you can hop the wall or take a picture. I don't know. A selfie stick. There is also a benevolent presence that frequents the grounds of Greyfriars Kirkland, the terrier named Greyfriars Bobby. The best known, I know, they called him Bobby. The best known version of the story is that Bobby belonged to John Gray, who worked for the Edinburgh City Police as a night watchman. When John Gray died, he was buried in Greyfriars Kirkyard. Bobby then became known locally, spending the rest of his life sitting on his master's grave.
Aww.
This happened for 14 years, and that's 98 dog years.
Wow.
Bobby died. I know. Bobby died in 1872 and was buried inside Greyfriars and not too far from where John is buried. After that, people started hearing the sounds of barking, even when they didn't see any dogs around. It's said that he's still there, guarding the grave of John Gray, and a prominent commemorative statue now sits at the corner of Edinburgh's Castle Makers Row at Greyfriars Kirkyard. So not only did they take the time to bury him there, but they commemorated him with statue.
That's so sweet. Yeah, he deserves it.
I do like how many Scots like their dogs. It makes me feel good. So if you are in Edinburgh, checking out what lies beneath this phenomenal city, don't forget that there are haunted sites topside too. I know I won't. We already have a huge list compiled for Scotland when we finally make it there.
Yeah.
And just one more thing to add is that the vaults can totally be rented out for an overnight stay.
I didn't know that. Oh, it's got to be expensive.
It's only €500, which is roughly 600 USD.
Deal.
It's not too bad, right? Exactly.
I will take it.
And they allow up to 35 people too. So if we find 33 extra souls that we are willing to trust.
You better lower that down a bit. Maybe like 5 people.
2 extra souls. Okay. So there it is. It's Scotland. It's haunted. It's amazing. And if you have any stories from the haunted Greyfriars Cemetery or the creepy Edinburgh Vaults, or if you just want to let me know how many times I mispronounce Edinburgh, please write in. We are at creaturesofthenight.paranormal@gmail.com. Seriously, I have struggled with that all week long. And my husband's yelling at me. It's Edinburgh. It's Edinburgh. I'm like, I keep wanting to say Edinburgh.
Yes, you do love to say Edinburgh.
I do.
I chalk it up to just how people pronounce things differently is all. In different parts of the country, we say things differently. So, I mean, you know what it's called. This is just how you say it. That's fine.
I'm terrible. As soon as I gave away where I'm doing my story, I'm like, oh shit, I already said it wrong.
I didn't think you did at first, but just like a few minutes ago you did. But you corrected yourself.
I was worried that the Scots that download our podcast would be like, all right, let's do a drinking game to how many times this dummy can't say it right.
Well, that's fun. You just gave him something to do then.
So there you go. That's it. Pictures that I shared with Wendy during the show will, of course, be posted on our social media this week. So feel free to stop by our socials. Just check those out. You can find all the links to them in the show notes. And if you like the story that you just heard and you want to hear more like that, please subscribe to our show. You can do that on your media player or by subscribing to us on YouTube. Our podcast is there on YouTube along with all sorts of videos from the show itself and just from like our Throwback Thursdays. Wendy loaded a couple of really sweet ones not too long ago when we were trying to figure out how to use this amazing new ghost app. So you can find us always there on YouTube. We've got so many videos. I don't even know what number we're at anymore. At least 1,000. It's got to be.
1 trillion. It's
a trillion.
It gets worse and worse every week when I take clips from the show. So, I mean, there's a lot to keep you busy, guys.
There is a lot to keep you busy. So I hope you love our pretty faces as much as you love the sounds of our voices because we're all over that bad boy. And we also have a store filled with loads of cool swag and spiritual products. It's on Etsy. So be sure to look us up there. It's called the Spirit Emporium. You won't find us under Creatures of the Night there. You have to look for our spiritual shop, which is known as the Spirit Emporium. And that is it. That's all I got.
I loved every bit about this. This is like one of those places that I have to see one day for sure. It's on my list. I mean, because I want to go. Obviously, I love to travel and I've never been overseas before. So Scotland, Ireland, England, these are like the top choices for me. I want to see everything else too. I'm just that type of person. I will go just about anywhere. But I know before I die, I have to go to these places. And the vaults are something that I've always wanted to see. So this is epic. I love hearing about them.
I had a feeling you would have known what I was talking about, especially like when I start getting into like the shows and stuff. You're like, oh yeah, I did see that. Now it makes sense. But this was one that, of course, I had seen a really, really long time ago. But there are how many fucking shows do they have now? Like 800,000?
They're like our YouTube channel. It's just getting out of control. We have 58 seasons just like they do.
Right? When I saw that date to 2008, I'm like, okay, well, there we go. That's why I don't fucking remember it. I should go back and rewatch their first season. It'll all blow my mind again. I'm like, wow, this is great. I love this. Who am I kidding? I don't even have the time to watch their new stuff now, but he doesn't leave the country anymore anyway, so.
No. So, I mean, it's just everything that's in California and Nevada, basically.
Which apparently there's a lot of haunted shit out there, so.
I guess so. He keeps finding new and new stuff. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know about that. That's cool.
I know. When is he going to find the haunted vineyards? Go and discover those for us, Zach, please. And then write to us at creaturesofthenight@paranormal@gmail.com.
Zach Bagans.
Yes. Well, yeah, I definitely want to visit here too one day. Sure. All places in Europe are on my list. Scotland just keeps growing for me. It's like every time I turn around, I'm like, oh, and this place in Scotland? And this place in Scotland?
It's just a beautiful country to begin with. And then, we love the old architecture and all that. So, I mean, of course they have that because, most of those countries over there still do. They're so old. So, I mean, it's just like you could just walk the streets and, I mean, just one street would impress us.
Oh my gosh, it would be drooling. Look at that.
I mean, I don't know how long it would take us to get through the whole place because we're so easily impressed. But there's so many haunted locations in cities like this too.
You and I would get stuck at the coffee shop because the accents these people have are amazing. It's like, just tell me everything you learned while you were in elementary school. Go.
Well, I watch all those kinds of shows, like period pieces that are set in Europe. I'm there. Yeah, when this episode that I was talking about with Ghost Adventures, and he does talk to people on the street. So it's one of those that I couldn't even skip through. I had to watch the whole thing just to hear the accents and everything. It was awesome. It's good stuff. So. Well, that's it. I'm glad you liked it. I hope you guys liked it too. And thanks again so much for listening to our show. And that's it.